So, Anne, we're for some reason up on top of St Mary's roof. Why?
We're up here because we had an architect's report on our roof. We have this done every 5 years, just to make sure that, just to advise us on things that need attending to. In that report, there was good news in the sense that our gutters that support the water drain away are really good condition. There's a few tiles missing on the roof, but those things are easily repaired. What was more concerning was about the parapet. So if you bring the video around, you can see that our entire roof is surrounded by this low wall, the parapet wall. And you can see the internal face of that wall. You can see discoloration there. So this is what the architect very firmly put in their report as the church needs to, it's essential work to look at this, this line rendering that covers the wall.
What is it exactly we're looking for in this corner, Anne?
So over in this corner, I think there's a particular high area of degradation. This is covered in a traditional line rendering. It's quite possible this line rendering is the original from when the church was first built. You can see there's a bit of discoloration, so we're just having a look at it. But what we do know is the architect said it's starting to degrade. This sort of material does last a long time, but it's clear that it gets a lot of battering in the winters, the rain, the storms, and over time, even though lime rendering is fantastic, long-standing material, it can start to degrade. So that's what started to happen on our roof, on the parapet walls. But on a more positive note, lime rendering, I've been on a journey somewhere, it's apparently fantastic for breathability. If you can imagine our church, we've got lots of people singing, or just generally, you know, moisture can build up in the church, and lime rendering lets it out. When the outside's incredibly damp and rainy, obviously a solid wall building like ours will start to let in that moisture. But that's fine because the lime rendering will let it back out as soon as conditions allow. It's fantastic in that respect, and I think that's why almost all conservation buildings that have lime rendering, they always seek to replace like with like. So the actual limestone material, it does involve using natural limestone. You have to break it down. You have to use intense fires going up to 900 degrees Celsius. That doesn't sound very green, does it? But it's greener than concrete, where you have to heat up even higher, have even hotter furnaces. Through that process, and then through the cooling, you get the type of, I guess, rendering type material that you smooth on. You need specialist expertise in doing this, because you need to use it fresh. You can't commission it from the other side of the world and wait for it to come. You've got to use it fresh. And interestingly, although obviously a lot of carbon emissions are emitted in terms of making it, once it's set, it's called curing. As it sets on the surface, it reabsorbs the carbon, which is incredible. That virtually means it's virtually carbon neutral as a material.
Okay. Wow.
And so we obviously talk a lot about how just general human activities are emitting a lot of carbon. This is one where it's carbon neutral. And then, of course, throughout its lifetime, there continue to be green aspects of it because by its nature it's breathable, it's permeable. This means it keeps damp on a regular basis out of the building. Damp buildings are not good because typically people then turn on the heating to try and make it a comfortable environment, which has its own carbon emissions.
What happens if we don't? If we look at the things that we're showing on the roof and decide it's not important and we don't do anything now, what will happen in the future and how will that affect St Mary's ministry?
The problem will grow in a way, so it's better to tackle it now in terms of costs. There's been a lot of research done showing that if you let buildings degrade, the costs become larger. And of course, I mean, it could well mean that if there are serious damp issues or even other more serious things like dry rot, you'll have to just, it won't be safe to meet. You have to meet somewhere else.
And we'll lose our building.
Yeah. So that's not where we're at now.
But it's where we could be if we're not careful.
That's what would happen if we just, you know, threw caution to the wind and didn't pay attention.
Okay, and if we do get it done, then we'll have a look at a few slates. Most importantly, we'll sort out the very poor state of some of the limestone, stone rendering and the coping. What what things will that enable us to do?
Essentially, it would mean that we have a strong platform in terms of having a well-maintained, warm, dry building. So one of the exciting things for St Mary's coming up is obviously we're piloting and starting our Hope Cafe, Hope Collective project. So the pilot's coming up in this autumn 2024 is starting off in the church hall. We're really excited about that. Once we get all this work done, which is not insignificant, the building will be under scaffolding for a number of weeks. There'll be a lot of expert builders up here. Once that's all done, then we'll be looking together as PCC and with relevant staff like Darren to moving that within the main church building, and we see that's really important for a number of reasons. One, the main church space it's a lovely space, isn't it? And we want the Hope, the people that will be coming to the Hope Cafe to feel very much part of the main church. It might be easier then to go to other services, etc. But yeah, what will happen after we fix it is that is one of the core things, the Hope Cafe coming to the main church. But it just means also just be more confident about all our projects in that space.
So what you're saying is we've got some problems and they've been identified by the perennial report, and we've got a choice. We can do nothing and we'll slowly lose the use of the building over the next 20 years, or we can tackle it early and fix these things, and that will not only enable normal services to continue without risk of leaks and so on, but also enable us to do things like Hope Cafe within the church and use this building that we've had for 185 years for another 185 years in God's kingdom.
It's a fantastic building, a common building for us all to use, and as a attendee of the building, every so often you have to just do regular maintenance so that.
And this is ours.
Will be round fantastic, serving the community for another 200 years to come.